Sure? Positive?
Okay, so we're take 3.
Take
episode
3. This is definitely our first take.
We haven't
sure.
been doing this two
Yeah,
other times.
this is our first take.
Didn't record.
So the question, we're talking about clones, human clones. The question was...
Yeah, my first question to start off is, what is the definition of a clone? Because in my mind, I think of it as like a literal duplicate of me or somebody. But is there like is it a broader term?
Depends on who you ask, probably. If you ask me, yeah. Cloning could be a whole lot of different things. It could be them taking your DNA and making a copy of you, whether or not it is you or not, with your brain, your thoughts and your all these, who knows? I mean, maybe. I also think that human clones could be like human-animal hybrids. So... mix a human with a dog and you got a dog man, or Mothman, or, all these things. That could be considered human cloning.
Okay.
I also think that I know that there is a program for human clones where very powerful and rich people could be growing their own organs, right? Oh. And that's not even a conspiracy. I mean, you can grow organs, or people are even 3D printing organs. I don't know if that could be considered cloning, but yeah, you could easily have a clone of your liver growing.
So is that just so they can continue to live longer?
Yeah, it could be, Clones rice. Yeah, I mean, you could clone anything that has, RNA in it, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. But if it has RNA and DNA, you could probably clone it, and manipulate the DNA to make a new version of that, know. So, now the conspiracies, right? The conspiracies for the cloning stuff is like kind of scary and like it's intense.
Okay.
I was saying
get ready.
I was saying in our first take that wasn't really our first take, because this is our first take.
Yeah, exactly.
That I came across a guy like 5-6 years ago. His name was Donald Marshall. He's got videos on YouTube. I don't know if I believe everything he says. If you watch it, you'll probably feel the same way. But a lot of the stuff he says is deep and it's interesting. And at very least, it would make an awesome movie for clones. Okay. So what his whole thing is they have a thing called REM clones, just like REM sleep.
Yeah.
Right? So these REM clones, now, let me step back for a second. These people, right? They are doing things. How do they do it without the world seeing them do it? How do they get away with meeting up with each other? And, it would be obvious if these people were meeting. Donald Marshall's theory was REM clones. So you and me run 2 different countries, let's say, or corporations or whatever, and we want to meet up for a secret meeting. What we're going to do is we're going to go to sleep. And while we're in the deep of our REM sleep, our REM sleep, they will be able to transfer your consciousness from your body into your clone's body.
Okay.
This clone...
That's weird.
This clone is housed in a deep underground base. Deep underground military base. Okay. So you could wake up, you go to sleep, you wake up in this facility as your clone. Okay. And because they pulled your consciousness into this clone, it's you. You are fully aware.
And you'll remember it.
Right.
Okay.
So in his theory, this is how these people met up, and they have their secret bunkers.
So there's just like a place with a bunch of people that are clones, and then
there's clones
that
of
way
Bush
they can all
and clones of Cheney
do that together. Okay.
What is this here? Donald Marshall explaining clones. He explains that while members within this elite club enjoy access to unlimited opportunities, in exchange, they must agree to participate in secret meetings held nightly in deep underground military bases on highly restricted properties. There, they use top secret cloning technology to meet as clones during their dream state to discuss and plan future events while the rest of us sleep. Right? So
Weird.
deep underground in these secret bases, they have their George Bushes. He said Donald Marshall says he is a clone. This is where I don't believe this guy, because he says that I was the one who really wrote like these songs, and then they took these songs from me, and then they made
Like, okay,
so
right, okay.
he's kind of full of it, but
He's like
he's a
the
whack
kid
job.
from that movie, the Beatles movie. I don't know what it was
He
called.
says also that
Like, pretended he wrote all the
he said that
Beatles
him and
songs.
Tila Tequila were madly in love, like they're clones, and like Tila Tequila was going through all this
So
stuff.
random.
I know. I don't look.
Like, who even remembers?
If anybody's going to go
Tila-
look at Donald Marshall
Tila
after
Tequila?
hearing this, just I don't believe the guy.
Okay.
But I do
So
believe,
he's like slightly delusional,
right?
but
But the REM cloning thing,
yeah,
you know,
Okay.
maybe could be, you know.
that's so weird. Can I just point out that a lot of these conspiracy theories remind me of movies and like TV shows, and I'm like, did these theories exist before these movies or after?
Probably both, depending
Like,
on
are
what.
the movies taken from the conspiracy theories or from the possible truth?
Probably both,
or
depending on which one you're
Did
watching.
somebody just watch a movie and be like, you know?
Yeah, depending on what you're watching and what conspiracy you're thinking about,
Mm-hmm.
probably both. Some are probably from the movie, some are probably the movies because of it. But remember, the movie is the predictive programming.
Yeah.
So the fact that you can attribute this to a movie, it's working.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
I'm like, oh man.
The
I
fact that
watch a
your
lot of
head didn't
movies,
just
I guess.
explode and you didn't just run outside and like kill yourself because you heard of this means the predictive programming worked.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you're programmed. It's all good. It's all good. Don't worry about it.
I'm like, this movie, that movie, blah, blah, blah. Like, I've seen all of this before.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, in these deep underground military bases, the DUMBs, as they're called, deep underground military bases, they're doing all kinds of other stuff. The super soldiers is definitely a real thing. CRISPR technology, I mean, probably using cloning technology or embryo splicing or whatever, you know, they're making super soldiers. They want to make Captain America, like you said. They want to make people who can run faster, jump higher, see in the dark. They don't feel fear. They don't feel pain. Like,
Right.
you want the biggest, baddest dudes doing the Navy SEAL stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's a new Cold War, if you will, right now about this, about genetics, about making super soldiers. If you just Google super soldier, Google super soldiers, and you'll see articles that come up from like, you know, big, you know, news corporations and stuff where they talk about that there is a push and a battle between nations to create super soldiers and all of these things. The big thing about that is being able to take the DNA from like certain animals, for instance. Like let's say, I don't know, I'm making this up right now, but like a panther, right? A panther might be able to see in the dark. So
Right.
they'll take that and they'll put it in you. So now you have the night vision and now you're badass.
See, I'm already thinking of another movie right
Another
now.
movie, right?
But it's the Jurassic World Indominus Rex. Like, that's where my mind's going.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the Indominus Rex is like, he's part T-Rex, he's part raptor, like all of the like best qualities of each dinosaur is this one dinosaur
Right.
that they created.
Super
so it's
dinosaur.
kind of like, you know, same concept, but
Yeah.
you know, stupid
That's a good
movie
point.
that I watch way too much because of Levi.
Like you could be normal,
Blacked out.
right? Like Dick Cheney could be normal. Normal Dick Cheney. But then when he gets his REM clone, it could be like a super Dick Cheney. Right? So
okay.
Donald Marshall also talks about that in these secret underground REM clone meetings that these people have, they also do like gladiator games, you know? So like, let's say you're a famous musician and you're not going along with the program, but you said you would, you're part of it, but you're not going along with the program.
Right.
It's easy for them to, you fall asleep, they pull you into the cloning center and you wake up. I mean, there's nothing you can do to fight it. You're stuck there, right? And according to this guy, they will put you in like a gladiator match. They'll have you fight to the death with me, who also isn't going along with it. Or maybe I'm Dick Cheney and I just have this urge to like wreck somebody with a battle axe today,
Yeah.
and you're not following the program. So we're both going to show up at this place and we're going to fight to the death. And it doesn't matter if I die or you die, because we have
It's a clone.
clones, exactly. So they might have a stockpile of 1,000 Dick Cheneys in case he dies in the gladiator battle. And they can just send him back home, and then tomorrow they put him in the new Dick Cheney clone.
Weird.
But if they can do this,
Yeah.
if they can pull your consciousness and put it in a clone, they could also put you in a body that's not yours, right? So now you could be Brad Pitt in the cloning facility. Maybe you have like a weird fantasy. Dick Cheney wants to be Brad Pitt really bad. So he's like, tomorrow,
Why wouldn't he want to
tomorrow, make sure I'm in the Brad Pitt clone when I get there. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna kill this guy with a bow and arrow in the gladiator matches, and then we'll talk about how we're gonna like do Agenda 21 stuff.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So who knows if any of that's real, but it's interesting. It would make a great movie. You know what I mean? Same with the super soldiers.
Dude, this is pain immunizations.
Pain immunizations.
What's that?
It means they give you a shot so you don't hurt anymore.
Oh.
Okay. DARPA's Persistence in Combat initiative aims to help soldiers bounce back almost immediately from wounds.
And that's real?
Yeah.
Already.
That's from Business Insider.
Oh.
That's not from InfoWars or
Yeah.
that's Business Insider. So, did you Google super soldiers? Is that what you did?
Like 8 things that the Pentagon's using to make super soldiers.
8 things the Pentagon is using to make super soldiers right now. So super soldiers is definitely real. CRISPR, definitely real. Gene splicing, definitely real. So now I'm going to kind of go back a little bit to like the Agenda 21 stuff.
This is them trying to splice rat and whale and dolphin DNA with humans so that we don't have to sleep.
Oh, okay.
Whoa,
I was just
that
talking
is
about this.
so
Okay.
weird.
Same article from Business Insider. Not all animals sleep the same way. DARPA wants to find a way to let humans sleep with only half of their brain at a time, like whales and dolphins, or possibly even skip sleep for a long period of time, like ENU mice, a genetically engineered species of mouse. So they're literally, again, like I said, they want to make sure that you can sleep with half your brain so you can stay awake and fight, or they want to make sure you can see in the dark, or you can not have pain when you get shot. You know what I'm saying? This is insane, right? You thought I was kidding. You thought I was making up the super soldier thing, and then you looked it up. And now you're like, oh, no.
This is brain implants for telepathy.
Brain implants. What?
What?
Same article, Business Insider, part of DARPA's brain-machine interface. Project is the development of better computer chips that can directly connect to a human brain via implants.
And it says better, so does that mean that there's already some?
There's already some.
They're just a better version.
Well, I mean, look, we all know this. If you and I know about a technology, the military or the military industrial complex have had this for 20, 30 plus
Right.
years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that means in the 80s, they had brain-machine interfaces. In the 80s, they had the ability to splice DNA to make you a super soldier. At least in the 80s.
Right.
Read this last piece.
While the chips are already improving, the project has some detractors. One offshoot of the research is the ability to remote control mice via implanted chips. And some defense scientists worry about the risk of troops having their minds hacked.
Oh, really? There's a risk in that?
No big deal. There's a risk. Hey, you might hack the super soldier's
What
mind.
risk?
No big deal. Don't worry about it. And then, yeah, you know, like they're using exosuits and things right now.
Gecko gloves.
You know, yeah, gecko glove, whatever. So, I mean, again, this is a real thing. I mean, and if our government's doing it, China's doing it, and Russia's doing it, and Iran's doing it, and everybody else.
For sure.
So, I forgot the point I was going to bring up before we started reading that. Deep underground bases, super soldiers. Oh, yeah, going back to Agenda 2030. Okay.
Okay.
So, eugenics. If you look into the people who are really big and really pushing all of this kind of crazy Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, all of these things, they're all super duper into eugenics. Jeffrey Epstein, right? We all know Jeffrey Epstein.
We do.
Jeffrey Epstein's big thing, a lot of people don't know this, but you could find it and it's real. The big thing for him was not just blackmailing and trying to control and manipulate like politicians and things like this.
Right.
His big thing was scientists. You can
okay.
look at Stephen Hawking. I mean, there's a lot of people like, and not just scientists, but people like Bill Gates, who are the people who fund these sciences and these
Right.
programs. They were all involved with Jeffrey Epstein because Epstein was really big into eugenics. These psychopaths that worship Saturn, that do all these crazy things. Part of it is the whole transhumanized thing. They want to make us not human anymore. We want to be the next level of human so that we can fight off whatever's coming. And eugenics is a big part of that. And it's also...
what is eugenics?
Eugenics, I don't know the definition. Can you look up the definition of eugenics? It's basically, studying of, doing stuff with your DNA and
Genes are.
it's like gene research, right? Eugenics. So we're going to read it exactly when it comes up because I don't want to sound like too much of an idiot.
Google doesn't block me.
The internet is going really slow.
EMPs. Eugenics is the study of the agencies under social control that may improve or impair the racial qualities of future generations, either physically or mentally. So CRISPR. They want to make sure that the human genome is better and better and better so that we all look better, we're all healthier, we all live longer.
Here's a way
Better definition. Eugenics is a social and political philosophy. It tries to influence the way people choose to mate and raise children with the aim of improving the human species. Eugenics rests on some basic ideas. Negative eugenics aims to cut out traits that lead to suffering by limiting people with the traits from reproducing. So if you have a medical issue...
Getting the COVID.
Okay, that's a good
Vaccine.
example. Let's talk about COVID so we can get banned.
Okay.
Let's
Because that's where my brain goes like, oh, that's what that vaccine is for.
That's current. Let's bring it in. So like, let's say you got the COVID, right? And then because of the COVID now they find out next year, like, oh, everybody who had the COVID, now you have like this genetic defect because of the COVID, right?
Okay.
Well, according to this eugenics definition here, limiting people with the traits from reproducing. So we can't let you have any more kids because you have this genetic defect and it might affect the world's population down the road. So
Right.
unfortunately, you can't have kids anymore. You know what I mean? And again, who's like the number one vaccine guy, at least publicly? Bill Gates.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And he's also into eugenics. Again, making sure that you can't populate
Right.
or reproduce if you don't fall under the guidelines that whoever
and he's
says.
the one trying to come up with the COVID vaccine.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So the eugenics, the cloning, it's kind of all tied in together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They want to manipulate our DNA on a big level. What are you looking at? Scientists hanging out with Epstein? Yeah, look that up, people. You want to Google something interesting? Look up Jeffrey Epstein hanging out with scientists, and you'll see them all hanging out together. And the crazy thing is a lot of these pictures of these guys hanging out are after Epstein was already charged the first time with all of this stuff.
Right.
So it's not like they didn't know.
Yeah. Oh, well, they definitely knew.
They definitely knew, and they
Yeah.
can't even say that they didn't.
Right.
You know
I
what I
don't
mean?
think anyone thinks that they didn't know.
Right. So, the whole Epstein didn't kill himself thing, and we're going to do a whole episode one day on Epstein.
Yes.
So I don't want to get too
Let's
into
do
it.
that, because I mean, I know a lot about the Epstein stuff, but I don't know much about the theory that people think he didn't kill himself. Like why and whatever.
He's dead.
Makes sense to me.
Oh, he's dead.
He's dead, but that he didn't kill himself.
He probably did.
You think he killed himself
Yeah.
and he wasn't like murdered or something?
I think he killed himself.
Really?
Yep. I'll probably be the
Okay.
only conspiracy theorist that'll outright say that. I think he killed himself. I think they made him kill himself. I think they
Made
flat
him.
out told him, you're going to kill yourself today. And if
Mm-hmm.
you don't, everybody else around you is going to be killed first. And then we'll kill you anyways. And I think that this dude, as scummy as he was, I think he had the balls to take himself out so that whoever else he might have cared about didn't have to go down with the ship too.
Interesting.
Not to defend him
I
in
just
any kind
can't
of way.
imagine that
I
there's
just-
anybody that he would care about that much. He seems like he just...
Everybody cares about somebody. It doesn't matter who you
Yes.
are. I mean, you could be the worst scumbag in the world. The kid that shot up the school, you know, you can see interviews of him talking to like his mom and he's freaking crying. I mean, even these terrible people care about somebody or something.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, who knows what it is? I could be wrong,
He just
but
seemed like the kind of guy that thinks like nobody can touch me. I can just do whatever I want. So I can't imagine that he would just like give up like that and be like, So I feel like there's something behind
You
it.
wanna
It
know?
wasn't like he just was like, oh, I'm just gonna
'Cause he
kill
has a
myself.
clone.
There's definitely something.
he's got clones.
Yeah.
Kill yourself, Jeffrey. You'll be fine. You got clones, dude. We'll make sure that you can live happily in this underground cities that we have with
they
high-speed rails.
But how does that work? Like, so he has a clone, but what about his like consciousness?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Like,
I
is
see
he
what you're
even
saying.
gonna
How are they
know
going to
that-
transfer his consciousness if he kills himself? I don't know. I mean, there's a whole thing with quantum computing and AI. This guy was also involved with those people as well. So quantum computing and AI, I mean, from what I understand, you could basically make a human brain or you could upload your brain to it or something. I mean, I know that there's like Russian oligarchs that are worth trillions of dollars that talk about this all the time, that like their goal is to upload themselves into a machine. What is this guy's name? He's a big guy here in the States.
What is he looking at?
He's looking at doppelgangers.
I'm like,
Time traveling.
yeah,
Time travelers, or maybe they're clones, dude.
this is weird. And this is where I'm like, I don't know what to believe when
Right.
it comes to these kinds of pictures.
Right.
Because of Photoshop. I mean, anybody could make these photos.
Sure.
But it's interesting.
Okay. So for anybody who's not seeing this, he's looking at pictures of like celebrities
Is that a woman?
that look like people from like 100 years ago. You know, you got
Yeah.
a picture of 100 years ago, and then you got Nicolas Cage, and it looks exactly like him. And people
Yeah.
wonder if it's time travel. Could be time travel. You know what I mean? I don't know. Could be part of the whole, like, you want to be part of the system. Like, we have the ability to do time travel. We'll give you in on this, but you got to go with the program. You know what I mean? I think it's cloning more than time travel.
Okay.
I think, again, that the cloning has been around for so long. Now, if you look at some of these old pictures,
That seems dumb.
in those times,
It's like a movie character.
if you go back 100 years or 150 years ago, pictures, it wasn't like today. Like right now, I could take a picture of you. We could take a selfie. We can all do pictures. Everybody's doing 1,000 pictures a day. It's no big deal. But 100 years ago, to get your picture taken was like a big deal.
Right. That's true.
You know, like this guy here that looks like Justin Timberlake. That's probably the only picture of that guy ever. You know, because who knows what it took for him to find
If it's
somebody.
even
with a,
real,
if it's
though.
real, if it's real, let's just assume that it's real.
Okay.
Let's just assume that these pictures are real.
Some of them are just like funny though.
So now
This
what?
is like-
What if this guy? Okay, this painting of Sylvester Stallone 600 years ago, right? What if that guy that's the painting of was an important man who was part of this agenda? He worshipped
Yeah.
Saturn. He did all of these things. And they were like, look, man, we can just make clones of you and then you'll live forever. And every generation of people, you'll be somebody.
Right.
And here in 2020, you just happen to be Nicolas Cage, the movie star. But in 100 years from now, you'll be the new version of Nicolas Cage. Maybe
It's
he's like a
interesting,
CEO
'cause it's
or
like,
something.
I wonder if it makes sense that these would all be like famous people. They're going to be big, rich people in society that have a say in some kind of way, whatever. But I wonder if, like, is there no clones of just regular people? Would there be no purpose for that? And you would never know?
It depends
Because,
on,
like, you'd only know about these because they're famous.
Right.
But what about regular people?
it depends on what conspiracy theorist you're talking to, I guess. But I mean, the cloning goes so deep. I don't know if you remember on the first episode, we were talking about like the 20 and back program, where they could take you and put you in the secret space program for
Right.
20 years and bring you back and put you right in the time you were and nobody knew. I mean, what if they don't have to do that? Okay. Somebody heard that and they were like, that's dumb. You can't do that. There's no time travel. Okay. Maybe you're right. But maybe because, you know, when you're born, you know, they get your DNA. They got everybody's DNA. Let's just get that out of the way.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Because, like, I mean, and I've actually done it too, but they ask if you want to donate your placenta. And I was like,
Sure, why not? Yeah.
I'm not doing anything.
Or what about when they take your blood for a blood test? I mean, who knows? There's a billion trillion ways that they can get your DNA. 23andMe. I did it on purpose. I got a 23andMe and I gave them my DNA.
Yeah.
Yeah. Conspiracy, Jeff. Yep. Here, have it.
Right.
But they don't have to necessarily take you and do the time travel, age regression. No, there could be clones of all of us. There could be 100 of you, 100 of you, and 100 of me somewhere in the universe. And again, Earth could be the farm. This could be like the hub. Let's get the DNA here. We'll make our clones in the deep underground bases. The clones have no idea. Now think of this. If you were born or created in a test tube, whatever, if you were born in a deep underground base and everything that you were taught was that this is normal, you would have no idea that there's people living on the surface.
Right. Yeah.
You'd have no idea about Donald Trump and Joe Biden. You wouldn't have any idea about the any of this stuff. You could be literally living.
Yeah, I mean, the same way that we don't really know what else is
Right.
out there.
Whatever
'Cause
information.
It's only what we can see and what we're told.
Exactly. So if there's clones of us being produced underground, they could be told whatever, and maybe they're all happy and willy-nilly to go get on the spaceship to go colonize the next star system. And maybe that's what we're doing. Maybe humans are colonizing the whole galaxy or the universe, and they're doing it by screwing us over kind of at the farm while the clones of us are out doing the Star Trek stuff, or like Star Wars, right?
That's really weird to think about.
Think about Star Wars. Think about the clones, the stormtroopers, right? The clone army. That could be happening right now. Predictive programming. I mean, George Lucas, I don't know if he's part of the program, but he probably is. I mean, he's a big name, you know? And all the movies have like, I forget the word they use for it, but it's all like certain story pieces that make like this epic tale that relates to reality. Right, there's the Empire, and then you got the rebels fighting the system, and what's happening now, just in a science fiction.
Yeah.
So what if the clone army is real? What if the Empire is real? What if the global New World Order is the Empire, and the Empire is everywhere, and we're just like on Tatooine as the slave colony?
Yeah.
That's making all the warriors, the clone armies.
Yeah. That's kind of crazy. It makes me think like, well, I wonder what my clone looks like.
Probably just like you. Maybe different haircut.
What kind of hair?
Yeah, different haircut.
What kind of style.
Yeah, whatever. But yeah, clone.
That's so weird to think about. I mean, because like, it's even weird to think about that there's people out there that look like you that aren't well, maybe they are a clone, but like doppelganger type things where it's like, whoa.
Like we were just looking at with the so I don't remember I don't even know if this is true, but I think I heard this on a TED Talk from somebody, some scientist guy or something, but he was talking about the DNA sequence that makes like what you and I look like, that there's only so many combinations, and I don't remember the number. I'm just going to throw one out, but I think it was like 30 billion combinations, or maybe it was 300 billion combinations of what you could have somebody look like as a human, like with our exact DNA structure.
Okay.
And then he went down to say, if you took all of the humans that have ever lived on the planet, it's like 10 times that number, whatever it was. So with that logic, there could potentially have been up to 10 or more of somebody that looked just like you, had almost the same DNA structure as you, at least 10 times since humans have been here. So those pictures of Nicolas Cage 200 years ago could have just been somebody who just happened to look like Nicolas Cage just because the genetic structure was close, and somebody found the picture of it, and boom. Could be a time traveler, could be a clone, could be fake.
Right. Okay, so you had mentioned before that there are people now that conspiracy theorists think are clones, right?
Yeah.
Like specific people. Who are those people?
Barack Obama.
Okay. And why?
I've heard the theory that Barack Obama was cloned from what's the mummy? The mummy from ancient Egypt, the most famous mummy.
Oh, King Tut?
King Tut. I know, sounds crazy. I didn't make this up.
What?
I'm just telling
Why?
you what the theory is. There's a theory out there. Look it up. I don't know. Obama King Tut clone. I think there's another one that says like, Michelle Obama's clone of Cleopatra. I mean, there's so many theories about every single person that's yeah. Because they dug out
What
the
does
mummies.
King Tut look like?
I don't know. Look, there you go. There's a picture of King Tut. And,
That's so dumb.
and
I'm sorry. That is Obama's face pasted on, like,
so
basically.
funny. Yeah, no, you're right.
Looking
Look,
like stone.
I'm not saying it's real. I'm just saying that's the
I
theory.
think we need a different website. This one doesn't seem legit.
But there is that theory that these people that run the world, again, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Bilderberg Group, the Trilateral Commission, these people, not the president, maybe the president, but these real people in the shadows, the Wizard of Oz, right? The Wizard of Oz could be a clone of the Wizard of Oz from ancient whenever. And then this guy over here could be a clone from ancient there, and they're just keeping the same bloodline and keeping the same.
I mean, that makes sense to me. It does.
Yeah.
You want to keep the same bloodline ruling everything.
Especially if that bloodline is a special bloodline. If this special bloodline is, again, they think that they're worshiping Saturn and they're doing all this stuff. There's a reason for that. Them thinking that they didn't just get told this by somebody and they're like, oh yeah, let's go along with it. No, they're bloodlines. That's why you remember that girl that found out all the presidents are connected by family somehow. And George,
I actually didn't hear.
You didn't hear about this? Yeah. So like, I don't know if it's real, but apparently like most of the presidents and stuff are related somehow. Third cousins, whatever the case is, they're all related. And some people have even traced lineage back going to like, the Queen of England from like 1,000 years ago. And they're like, oh, all these presidents were related to her and all these kings from England were related to her. So, I mean, it's the bloodlines. They're keeping these bloodlines going. I think that these bloodlines, honestly, what I think it is, they're bloodlines because they're not humans. They're not you and me. They're different. They might look like us. There's something different in their code. So I think that they can see things that we can't see. I think that they can perceive a little bit different in this light spectrum than we can perceive.
Like what?
I don't know what.
And why do you think that?
Because they're doing things that we wouldn't think to do. There's no reason that anybody would think to do black magic rituals, to break out of the matrix, to do sacrificial rituals to Yal the Bayoff. Nobody would think of this out of nowhere. So I think that there's some genetic memory, right? Just like instinct, animals have this.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, we had monarch caterpillars. And it was just crazy to me that, like, actually not even the monarch ones, but this other type of butterfly caterpillar. It was like, I was watching it go through this whole life cycle, and it was by itself. It was a single caterpillar that had never seen another caterpillar, and it knows exactly what it needs to do every stage, because there's like different stages, and they all do the same thing. It really was like interesting to me. It's like they really just have that instinct. They just know exactly what needs to be done to get to the stage of a butterfly. They need to eat for this long. It's like clockwork.
It's genetic memories.
It's so weird.
Genetic memories, and that exists all throughout the animal kingdom. I mean, there's so many examples of that. It exists in us as well. I mean, there's a reason that, like men are attracted to women and women are attracted to men. And there's a reason that, we want to eat certain foods, and, it's all genetic from evolution, if you believe in evolution, right? So, I think that these bloodlines have something in their bloodline. They're different and they want to keep it that way. You know what I mean? And they, whatever it is, the secret, that's the Holy Grail. To me, the Holy Grail is not a cup. It's not, it's knowledge of what this holy bloodline is, or this, I don't want to say holy. It's not a holy bloodline. This, you get what I'm saying? So I think that's what they've been doing. I mean, again, the same people run stuff now that their great grandparents ran stuff 100 years ago. It goes back and back and back.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense to me, just seeing it from like an animal perspective. Why would they have that in their DNA and we don't, or some people do and others don't. You know, like that makes sense to me because it's just so clear that genetic coding and thing like just tells them what they need to do. Like animals, they just know.
But what's interesting is
So
like
crazy.
why would people like Epstein and Bill Gates and a whole slew of other people that we would all recognize the names, why are these people interested in eugenics?
Yeah.
Why do they care about the DNA and the cloning and the because they're looking for it. I think they're looking for the bloodlines. They want to know who's this and who's that.
So they're not a part of it, but they're trying to.
Could be. I mean, maybe they are the bloodlines and they're looking for another bloodline. I mean, who's to say there's only two bloodlines? You know, maybe there's multiple bloodlines. What if Jesus's bloodline is its own bloodline and they're looking for it? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Who knows? Who knows? They could be trying to find Jesus's great whatever to take him out.
Yeah.
It's so crazy they say that like an individual can't be cloned, but all of the information can. So there's like they're getting around the loophole of making two people.
An individual can't be cloned, but all of the information of the individual can be cloned.
Which
can be
the genome.
Which is
the individual, not.
Do you think that's
like,
just their way of like?
I'm not cloning this person.
Right.
I'm cloning their genes.
Right. That's just their way of like getting away with telling us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like.
Yeah. I mean, it could be. Look up. Type in animal-human hybrids.
Well, they say here too that in mammals in general, the animals produced by cloning suffer serious health handicaps.
Right.
Crazy obesity, early death, distorted limbs, dysfunctional immune systems and organs, livers, kidneys, all that kind of stuff.
Right. So this article basically says that the cloning doesn't really work because all the embryos get sick and die or have crazy abnormalities. Who knows if that's true though? I mean, if I'm making super soldier clones and I'm doing all these crazy clone secret stuff,
yeah, you don't want anybody else to know.
I'm going to tell you it's not working.
Be like, surprise.
Yeah, we've been working on it for 20 years. It's just not really working out.
But then they're born and they don't have arms and legs.
Right. Yeah. Sure they don't. You know what I mean? So I don't know. But if you look up, animal-human hybrids, you'll see some pictures. They're probably all fake. Who knows? Who cares? But they're doing it. They're mixing human DNA with animal. We read it in the Business Insider article. You know what I mean? So cloning's real for sure. Human cloning's real for sure.
Is there anybody else that is a clone that people think right now?
People or me?
Other than, people, you, both.
Who do I think is a clone? Every single person who's involved in the... what's the word? Everybody who's involved in the mass manipulation and control. And I'm not talking about like the news anchor who's regurgitating the info.
Yeah, the higher ups that make the decisions.
The people who sit at the tables and make the decisions. Those are the clones.
Okay.
Or they have clones. Again, maybe I need you. You're the head of whatever, and I need you to help me with my agenda. But I don't really want to give you the full access. I don't want to give you the keys to the cloning facility so that you can go have fun.
Right.
So maybe I'll just tell you, like, look, join the team, do these things that will help us push our agenda, and we'll get you a clone so that when you get sick later, we can get you a liver, we can get you a new lung. You know what I mean? It'll be your own personal clone. We won't tell anybody about it. Hush, hush, because it's he's a big wait list for your kidneys and stuff. But we'll have one for you.
Right.
Your own personal clone. So it could be that shallow of a deal. It doesn't have to be the whole.
Right. Like they're not in it for the same reasons.
They don't know about all the deep, dark stuff.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, what? You can grow some organs for me so that if I have a problem later. Yeah. And you'll do that for my family too, right? Like my kids and my wife and everything. Oh, yeah, for sure. What do you need me to do? I would do it.
Yeah.
Illuminati, if you're listening, I want to be on your team. Come offer me some clones. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
for sure.
And then, so what do the conspiracy theorists think? Like, who do they think is a clone other than Obama?
Everybody. Trump is a clone. Biden's a clone. Obama's a clone. The Bushes are clones.
So, and when you say that, it's not that the one that we see necessarily is a clone, but that they have a clone.
Right.
Okay. Right. Not like they're walking around. They're not
real. Their doubles could be clones. Yeah. The one that we're seeing might not be a clone, or it could be.
Yeah.
Could be a clone. I mean, there's a big thing about celebrities in cloning where they'll be like Dave Chappelle was a big one. They were like, Dave Chappelle disappeared for a long time, and then he came back all of a sudden. Everybody's like, this doesn't look like Dave Chappelle. He's like taller and he's like more jacked, and like, sure, it could just be the whey protein and he's working out like a regular human being. But there's a whole thing about like, oh, this is the clone version. He said too much, and they took him out, and then they grew the clone, and it took exactly 8 months for them to grow the clone just like it's supposed to. And here he is on his, and it's like,
Interesting.
People go deep, people go hard. What'd you highlight here? Human-animal hybrid embryos have been made in countries such as the United States, but never brought to term. Lies. Although the country allows this kind of research, the National Institutes of Health has had a moratorium. I can't read people. Moratorium on the funding such work since 2015. So since 2015, there has been funding for human-animal hybrid embryos.
So in Japan, their experiments are the first to be approved under Japan's new rules.
In Japan, wait, what does that say? I don't know that guy's name. Some Japanese dude's experiments are the first to be approved under Japan's new rules by a committee of experts in the science ministry. Stop right there. The new religion of science. What does that say? Final approval by a committee of experts in the science ministry. The religion of science.
That's what we were talking about. Was it last? We only got another episode.
It was
no, this is the third one.
One of the first two episodes. Yeah, I don't know.
Whatever week
Probably
when
both.
we were talking. It was the first week.
Yeah.
The first episode.
Yeah.
When we were talking about how science is like religion now. So, interesting.
And it's funny how they word this. Again, this is part of the free will thing. Language is a big tool for the black magic. I mean, language has been manipulated since the beginning of language. You know what I mean? And there's ways to use words in ways that we're not thinking about. And there's a guy online. Anybody, if you look up anything that I tell you guys today, look up this guy named Bishop Larry Gators. Bishop Larry Gators is so legit that it freaks me out. This guy breaks down language on a level that like you wouldn't even believe. I couldn't even regurgitate what he says to you because it blows my mind, and I just but he goes in about like, and he's a bishop, so everything to him is from the religious angle. But he talks about all the same stuff. They're worshiping Saturn, they're using language, they're using numbers, they're using all these things to manipulate time, and he's just like on it. Bishop Larry Gators. Do it. He's got a podcast. He's on other podcasts. That's the dude. Bishop Larry Gators, if you hear this, call me.
Tag him.
Call me up. So, But what were we saying? The language, right? The language thing, right before we started talking about that. We were talking about...
I don't think I said anything about language.
No. It was right before we started talking about the language. I don't remember. Who cares? Somebody's going to yell at us in the comments.
Oh, just who people think are clones? That?
Sure, let's go with that. Anybody's a clone. We're all clones. There's a conspiracy. That's the thing about conspiracy world, right?
Where does it end?
There's a conspiracy for everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
So this is kind of... I don't know if it's related, but I guess I'll bring it up. The lizard people.
the reptilians.
Yeah.
The vrill.
Is that sort of the same?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's
Because
different
I have no idea
about reptilians.
what that even comes from, but I have seen video of the Facebook guy. What's his name? Zuckerberg, and people like the videos trying to prove that he's a reptilian.
He's a reptilian, sure.
So I've seen that. That's about it.
We'll talk about reptilians for a few minutes. I don't want to go too far from clones, but it is connected. So
Okay.
reptilians, different theories on reptilians. Some people think that they're physical reptilians, lizard people living here among us that can physically shapeshift to look like whatever they want. Okay, that's one
really?
theory. Yeah,
Anything.
anyone at least. Or, yeah,
People.
People.
Or animals? Just people.
Could be. I'm sure there's a theory for that too. We'll just keep it simple, right?
Okay.
So some people think that there's
so they can shapeshift to look like other people.
Right. So some people will say that like Dick Cheney is a lizard man.
So this like that blue girl from X-Men.
Yeah. Mystique.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mystique from X-Men is a lizard person.
Yeah.
She's even got scales. You notice that?
Yeah.
Predictive programming. So this Mystique lizard chick, right, is shape-shifting to look like anybody else. Right. So that's one theory of the lizard people. What I personally believe is that the lizard people are interdimensional. I don't think they physically inhabit the same space as us. There could be one here now, we wouldn't even know it.
Ew, that's creepy.
And by them shape-shifting, because that's the big thing with reptilians, is they can shape-shift. Okay, they can manipulate themselves to be whatever they want. If they're interdimensional, if they have access to more of reality than we do, okay, so we're only in this space and we can only interact so many ways. If they're in a different dimension, they could interact in different ways. So they might be able to control people. I've heard the theory that the reptilians don't shapeshift into Dick Cheney. They just they're like standing behind Dick Cheney the whole time. They're just kind of like
that's
mind
really
control.
Creepy to think about.
Yeah, they're like mind controlling Dick Cheney to say and do all things through his whole life, right? And I'm just picking on Dick Cheney because Dick Cheney's an asshole, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that that's more the case. I think that when you hear of like people being possessed by demons and
Okay,
things,
because that's what I was going to ask. Like, is that something that people could mistake as like a ghost or a spirit? Could be like this lizard person that's like interdimensional, here but not here.
Could be.
Oh, that's interesting.
So the hierarchy, Yaldabaoth, well, God, right? Whatever God is to you. Then it's Yaldabaoth / Satan / the bad guy. Yaldabaoth goes down to the archons. The archons would be considered the angels or whatever, right? Below them would be the reptilians. Okay, these reptilians are being controlled by multiple layers themselves. They're not even the top of the food chain, but they're higher on the food chain than we are. So they have the ability to manipulate us. Okay. The alien greys get lumped in with the reptilians by a lot of conspiracy theorists because some believe that the alien greys are like an android, like a biological robot that was created by reptilians so that they could interact in this physical space. Because they're interdimensional, they're not here with us, but they wish they could be.
Okay.
There's
so
things,
the alien greys are what we picture aliens to be? Is that what that is?
Yeah, the alien gray. Yeah, your little short gray alien with the big eyes and the big head.
Just making sure.
Some people think that that's not like really an alien. It's just like a biological robot, like an AI.
Huh, okay. I've never heard that.
Yeah, so these reptilians would be able to put themselves in it. So you see a gray, the gray is there physically, but inside the gray is the reptilian entity controlling the gray. Okay, so it's all the same.
Okay.
So with the cloning thing, I mean, they could be using the clones for that reason. They might not be shape-shifting into Dick Cheney, but maybe Dick Cheney's clone, they're able to get into it because there's no consciousness there. If you or I have a consciousness, these beings can't just step in. You see what I'm saying? We have to be unconscious for them to take over the body. So if you have a clone that's blacked out in the base and you're over here doing your thing.
So if Mark Zuckerberg is a reptilian, then he's a clone?
Yeah, probably. In my opinion, yeah.
Double whammy.
Double whammy.
So, okay. And people think he's a reptilian because of his eyes, right? Like
that's a big thing. I mean, if you look up like reptilian videos or anything like that
there's
online,
like a picture of him and
there's so many videos of like celebrities and stuff where like they'll blink and you'll see like a flash of like the lizard eye and you're like, oh.
Just the way he acts is weird.
The way he acts is weird.
He's super weird.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't think he's a reptilian. I think Zuckerberg he's an android.
He seems like a robot.
I think that he is the AI quantum computer.
He's just weird.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't... Yeah, something about him doesn't seem natural.
Right. I think he's a robot, honestly. I think he is Skynet, right, from Terminator. I think he's the T-1000.
Oh, I think
Yeah, maybe. Could be. Yeah, man. But yeah, I think that this was like a test. Let's see if we can make this Android, quantum AI Android, and we'll put them out in the public square, and we'll put them all over the place. We'll see if anybody even notices. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and people did, but then it's like nobody believes those people, anyways.
Yeah, nobody. We're all crazy.
Conspiracy theories.
Yeah, we're all
they're crazy.
tinfoil hat.
Yeah.
I mean, look, man. Hopefully, by the end of like the 100th episode that we do, I'll have said enough stuff that's actually true that people will stop thinking that. They'll be like, okay, maybe.
Yeah, like I was talking to my mom about it, the podcast, because she didn't actually watch our podcast.
Thanks.
So I had to tell her everything that we talked about, and it was a lot of information, even for me, because that's why I think it's good that we're going like focusing on one or two things that are this related in each episode, so we can kind of get in more in depth with it and really understand it, because a lot of this is like new information to me, and I'm sure other people. But so I was telling her about everything that we talked about, and I don't know where I'm going with this.
She thought you were crazy, or she thought I was crazy.
Oh, no, now I remember. I was just like, I don't know what I believe, but I think it's important for people to start thinking about things for themselves, and not just with conspiracy theories, but with anything. It's like we're so used to just believing what we've always been told and just doing what we've always been told and not thinking outside of the box. And it doesn't even just have to be about these bigger picture things, but It's like with anything, it's like you don't have to sit at a desk all day and
are you standing
do
in
a
line?
crappy job.
Are you standing in line today for 6 hours to go get the brand new iPhone?
Right.
Like, are you? Because if you are, maybe you should reevaluate like a lot of things that are going on in your mind. Because I mean, I see what you're saying. People should be thinking for themselves, not just going for the newest best thing, and I don't know. It's
or
crazy.
Feeling like you're limited to some way of thinking and way of living, because I mean, honestly, it's just people. A lot of people's actions and the way they live their life is just because that's what they feel like it's supposed to be, and it's just so. In many ways, I think it's important to start thinking about things outside of the box, whether you fully believe them or not. Opening that door to make decisions for yourself is important. So I was like, whether I believe any of these theories or some of them or all of them isn't really the point to me. It's just
thinking outside
getting
the box,
knowledge,
right,
and being able to decipher and make decisions for myself.
Yeah. Well, like I've said before, like I don't believe all of this stuff. You know what I mean? Like I won't sit here and tell you that any conspiracy theory that I think, or I'll even say like, oh, I know this is a fact. I'm not going to put my life on it. Like if you ask me to bet, you know what I mean? Like I'm not that crazy about it. But yeah, you should be thinking for yourself. The one thing that we're not supposed to do is think for ourselves.
Right.
That's it. So if you are thinking for yourself, you've already won. It doesn't matter if they're doing Agenda 21. It doesn't matter if Project Bluebeam or if Saturn. None of it really matters as long as you're thinking outside of the box that they want you to think in.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's all that matters. That's why the whole thing about like, like you're the universe and like, you create reality with your mind, and like this whole thought process of like your mind is the most powerful thing in the universe is true.
Yeah.
And that is because you can think for yourself. The things could still happen and you could be a victim of it, but you could think for yourself. You could have a perspective on it for yourself. If the shit hit the fan today, all of this, the Agenda 21, the whatever, if the FEMA camp started rounding people up, I'd freak out. Don't get me wrong. I'd be just as scared as everybody else. But there's a small part of me because of this where I'm like, okay, like I've shifted my perspective a little bit to where if it happened, it would suck, but like I'm okay with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm not scared of it to the point.
Well,
to
and
where,
you kind of have some idea of what's even happening, where other people would be
Right.
completely caught off guard.
So even if the FEMA camps gas me and kill me, at the end
Mm-hmm.
of the day, it doesn't matter. I'm dead. But the moments leading up to that, you know what I mean? I have a different perspective than the person who has no idea.
Yeah.
You know, they think they're getting, oh, we're gonna bring you in here and everything's gonna be, we're gonna wash you off in the giant shower here just to make sure
Yeah.
everything's good. You know, I might be more scared because I know what's really gonna happen, but
Yeah.
I have a different perspective.
Or
on it.
maybe you have a little bit more of a chance of
Getting out of there or something.
because
Maybe
you're not just like buying everything they're telling you.
I just looked at the computer. Mark Zuckerberg says he is not a lizard person.
in case anyone was
Well,
wondering.
you know, since Mark came out and said it,
Must be true.
if you have to come out and tell people you're not a lizard person.
So funny. Can't imagine.
So here's the thing about the lizard people. We all have a reptilian part of our brain. We all have a reptilian brain.
Okay.
Are you not aware of this? Yeah, look
No.
this up, Charlie.
What?
Reptilian conspiracy theory.
I am a reptile.
The reptilian brain, composed of the blah, 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 blah,
Striatum.
the ganglia striatum. I don't know. Listen, there's a part of the brain and brainstem that is involved with
That
primitive.
is not your brainstem, and that looks like a T-Rex.
That's a bad picture.
Why does that look like a T-Rex?
If you put this,
It's a joke. It's a,
Oh, okay. I'm
is
like,
a
am I the only one that sees
it's
it?
a joke. Yeah, we all have a
I got-
T-Rex brain.
I really got T-Rex on
No,
my
so
mind
listen.
tonight.
The part of the brain and the brainstem is involved with primitive drives related to thirst, hunger, sexuality, and territoriality, as well as habits and procedural memory, like putting your keys in the same place every day without thinking about it or riding a bike. What were we just talking about? Genetic memories,
Mm-hmm.
all your instincts, your thirst, your hunger, your sexuality, your territoriality, all of these things are the reptilian brain.
Interesting.
Right? Not your creative brain, not the part that's thinking. It's just
Yeah.
instinct.
Yeah,
Right?
like the habits.
So these reptiles, these lizard people, that's what they operate on primarily. So they're not operating from a place of sympathy or empathy or love or any kind of, when you asked the other day, like, why would
Yeah.
they do, like, what would be the motivation of them doing? Because these freaking lizard people are operating off of the primitive
They're
part
like a
of the brain.
caterpillar.
well, this is cool
They're
too,
just
because
doing. They're
these
just
are
doing.
all things that they're trying to change either through eugenics or
Right.
gene splicing.
Yeah, exactly. Every one of the things that every part of the reptilian brain is the things that they're trying to change with eugenics. Absolutely, man. I'm telling you right
It
now,
all ties together.
it all ties together. These people are sick, man. They're
Wow.
sick.
That is really weird.
So that reptilian brain thing spawns a whole nother conspiracy about cloning, where some people believe the reptilians came here first. Earth is not for humans. We
Okay.
came after. The reptilians came 1st and they set up the systems and they set up the language and they put the moon in orbit. We'll do an episode on that.
Okay.
The moon's
Like what?
Yeah, the moon's fake, people. The moon's not real. Well, it's real, but it's not what you think it is. So the reptilians came and then they spliced our DNA. Remember the Anunnaki from Planet X? They come and they make the DNA and then the reptilians.
Okay.
So they came and they cloned us, and that's why we have this reptilian part of the brain, because they spliced their DNA with the hominids that were here to create humans. And they also did this so that they could manipulate our brains, because if we have part of their RNA and DNA in our
Right.
you know, they can easily tap into this frequency.
Okay. Yeah, I can't stop thinking about the fact that like they could be like right here, right now. That's
Could be.
really freaky.
Could be.
Ugh. Gives me the heebie-jeebies.
So
So, is there any other big points about clones that we haven't gotten to?
big points? Nah, not really. This one's not as like important, I guess, as the last one, you know,
Yeah.
or the last two even. You know, the last one was really important just for like the sake of us. You know what I mean?
Right.
This whole cloning thing, I mean, who knows what's real and what's not real? I mean, we know clones are real. We know the technology's there. We know all these things. So, I mean, you know, do your own research, man. If you're interested in the reptilians and why they're using the clones and this and that, I mean, dig into it. It's not I mean, we found stuff here today
Yeah.
from Business Insider. You know what I mean? It's not hard to find.
Yeah, for sure.
Josh.
He wants all the links. Do the work.
And the
for
last
me.
big thought, I'm not going to say this guy's name, but somebody called me on my way here who listened to the last episode, and I talked to him for like an hour and a half, and it was awesome. It just felt good to be like, dude, I watched the podcast. Like, I don't even know you, but like,
Yeah.
I have to talk to you for an hour. And like, it was just cool. So you know who you are. Call me again.
Call me.
Call me.